Hi everyone, it's Dr. C here. Thank you for joining me for a session on health and wellness. Today we're going to talk about diaphragm health. The diaphragm is a really big muscle that we don't really think about, but we know that it's very important for health and wellness. Now, if you joined us for Knowledge and Nibbles in November, you'll know that this is the session for stretching. We're going to do some stretching in just a minute, but let's start with some background information. Now, like Knowledge and Nibbles, I talked about the anatomy of the body. We always start out with anatomy, and we know that we have the muscles, we have the skeleton, we have nerves, etc. They always pull these systems apart, but in reality, we know that they all work together as one to create health and wellness. Here's a slide showing the nervous system. At Knowledge and Nibbles, we discussed the central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system, all the nerves that go out and innervate our organs and other tissues. This is the lymphatic system. This system is really important when we get sick. Like we talked about at Knowledge and Nibbles, we have lymph nodes all throughout our body, and when we get sick, they get big. That's because there's cells in these lymph nodes that fight off infection. So the lymphatic system is important for your immune health. And we talked about the flow of lymph having to be able to get through the body so that we can stay well. And this is, of course, the diaphragm. It's a large muscle, and you can see on the right side there are some areas where there's holes. There's a lot of really important things that run through our diaphragm, and we're going to go through that next. So here's the celiac plexus, or the celiac ganglion. Everything runs through this area of our body and meets right here in this plexus and ganglion. A lot of times if you're feeling emotion or anxiety, etc., you might feel pain or even a weird feeling in here, and that's because of this meeting of the minds right here in the middle of our body. So the celiac plexus is the nerves. The esophagus also runs in there, some major vessels like the aorta, which takes blood from the heart to the body, or the vena cava, which takes blood back. And again, we talked a little bit about the vagal nerve, but we're going to go through. The vagal nerve is the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system. We did discuss the sympathetic versus parasympathetic, and real quickly, sympathetic, remember, is fight or flight. That's what gets our body going, right? We're ready to take on action. Parasympathetic is the opposite. It's our calming nerve. And so the vagal nerve runs throughout our whole body, and you can see all the different organs and pieces that are innervated by it. And so making sure that the diaphragm, where the vagal nerve runs, and all the important nerves run, is healthy so that we can have optimal health and wellness. So what can we do? On this slide are just a few things of what we can do. The first one is breathing, and just like at our Knowledge and Nibbles, we're going to practice breathing today. So if you're watching, please make sure that you can stand up if you'd like, put your feet on the ground, or you can sit at your desk and make sure your feet are flat on the ground. You can put your arms by your side, and just like we talked about, there's a ratio. We want to breathe in for 4, we want to hold for 5 to 7 seconds, and then we want to breathe out for 8. And that ratio is important because it activates our vagal nerve in this area, and that causes our calming to occur. So 3 sets of intentional breathing, meaning you follow this ratio, and we're going to breathe with our diaphragms. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And if you practice this a few times a day, you'll notice in a few weeks that you're able to breathe naturally when you feel stressed. So let's do 3 deep breaths. I can't count and breathe at the same time, so I'm just going to do the breaths. Please join me. All right. All right, so if you did those 3 breaths, you're feeling more calm. You might feel quieter. That's a good thing. Also want to talk about how we breathe. When you breathe intentionally, you're going to breathe through your diaphragm. You need to make sure your stomach is kind of expanding. Your abdomen expands and contracts. And one thing you can do to practice is you can actually lay on the floor and put a book on your abdomen. And then when you take the deep breath properly, you'll see that the book's going up and down. And that's what we call intentional breathing. Breathing is really important when stretching or doing yoga as well. We'll talk about it a little more with stretching, but some of the things you can do is breathe through and make your stretch a little bit deeper, and that can be very helpful. So we'll go on. Oh, just ignore that part. That was my fault. All right, so stretching we'll go through. Yoga is fancy stretching. I love yoga. There's a lot of different kinds. It's intentional movement and breathing and stimulating your vagal nerve. That's what it is. And mindfulness and feeling present in the moment and not letting your mind worry about other things. So if you get a chance to try yoga, I would definitely encourage you to do that. Laughing, singing, rhythm. Laughing, there's a lot of vagal nerve here. So when you laugh, you stimulate all of it, and that can cause you to feel calmer. Singing 13 minutes a day can really activate your vagal nerve. And you want to make sure and sing and project. You have to really use your glottis and project. I'm not going to do that right now, but just know that that is something you can do easily in your car on the way to work. And then rhythm. You know, we talk a lot about rhythm. Rhythm is healing. Rhythm is nature. We all hear our mother's heartbeat. It's the first thing we hear. You know, listening to different music, counting with the rhythm. One of the things we talked about at Knowledge and Nibbles that I thought was kind of funny was, you know, as a dancer, I count to 8. My husband is a musician, he counts to 4. But either way, whether it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, or you're just going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Find the beat and count or tap to it, and you'll find that rhythm activates that vagal nerve. So now we're gonna go on and just do our quick stretch. It's like a 3-minute stretch. So I'll have the slide taken off the screen. So for the stretching, first thing, posture. Posture is really important, right? So we wanna put our feet at our shoulder. Now before we do this, I am gonna put my hair in a ponytail, so just give me 1 second. All right, your feet wanna be shoulder width apart, right over your hips and forward. Now, proper posture, you want to bring up your chest, kind of push it out, but then let your shoulders go down and relax. You don't want to be like this. You want to be like this. The other thing you can do is you can tilt your pelvis in and find kind of that middle point right there. Now, this is good posture. The other thing, the last thing, is your chin, right? So we don't want to make sure that we're looking down or too far up. If you just push your chin back just a tiny bit, and just let that go. This is good posture. So we're chest up, shoulders down, pelvis in. All right, the other thing before we get started is breathing. And so you'll see as I stretch, sometimes I put some breathing into it, and that helps the stretch. So just be mindful about how you're breathing. Sometimes when we get out of breath, we tend to breathe out of our mouths. The best way to breathe is through our nose. So try to continue to breathe through your nose and out your mouth. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're gonna do is take a nice deep breath in and go all the way up. And you're gonna kind of reach. You wanna get your elbows, kind of pull them out like that. All right, now just a little bit to the side. And remember, like I said at Knowledge and Nibbles, you really wanna keep your head forward. You wanna be mindful that it doesn't go back because it can bend it the wrong way. So a little bit to this side, and then a little bit to this side. And as I exhale, I can deepen the stretch a little bit. All right, very good. Now we're going to go ahead and warm those arms up. So we did this in Knowledge and Nibbles for sure, I remember this. It's important to get that muscle, these fluids flowing, our thoracic input and output. These are 2 major areas that get kind of stuck, like I talked about, and they need to be fluid so that your lymph can flow. Another spot is right up in here. It can get really tight. So we want to do some arm rolls. Make sure that We're opening that whole area up in our armpit. All right, then we just kind of want to do this again. Okay, now we're gonna just grab our arms, so right arm over, left arm up. Use this time to just stretch over on your right neck kind of area. You want to kind of just bend and stretch. Okay, now we're going to do a turn to the back, and you're going to see I'm going to breathe, and then I'm going to breathe out and turn more into it. So set yourself up to your barrier. Turn, look back, and you say, okay, this is where I can stop comfortably, where you feel comfortable. Take a nice deep breath. And then you might hear your back crack if you do that. Other side. So again, just kind of stretching out our neck a little bit over to the side. Then we're gonna do the same thing, go to our limit, do some stretch, take a deep breath, and then we take it to the barrier. All right, so that's stretched out our middle back. Another thing you can do, and I hope this isn't too noisy, is put your arms like this. If you were a kickboxer in the day, you know this position. Okay, turning. So this is really good to open up your abs and your obliques. You don't want to move, it's kind of funky because you don't want to move your pelvis or your hips. You want to keep them straight, but you want to turn your arms. And you're going to feel it in this section. So this is really good. And you might also feel it along your spine in the back. So this is another good one to do. And we'll do another couple round. So now our upper body is pretty much stretched out and we're feeling good. Just a couple more things we're gonna do. Kind of put your legs apart a little bit more like this, and then you're gonna bend your knee and you're gonna breathe and all the way over. And you kind of wanna keep your head forward and just stretch over. You're gonna feel a lot of stretching in this side here. And just let that go. And then if you can, you're gonna wanna go back and then kind of open this up, and that'll really open up that hip, which for us women sometimes can be a problem. Other side, oh yeah. Just kind of stretch that out. All right. I know some of you are saying, Dr. C, you're crazy. That's okay. The last thing I want you guys to do is turn. I'm gonna turn, you can stay straight. Is just kind of, we're gonna work a little bit on just stretching the back a little bit. So first, knees, legs apart, hip. And then you just let your arms dangle. Let your head dangle. You know, kind of move them around like this so everything's really loose, like spaghetti arms. And that will help you bend and stretch the back part of your hamstrings. And eventually you'll be able to breathe into it and you'll be able to do like a downward dog or other yoga poses. Woo! So you want to sit in that for a few minutes. And that's really the stretching that we're going to cover today. That was what we did at Knowledge and Nibbles. If you do those stretches 2 or 3 times a day, you'll notice that your body begins to feel much better. Okay, so here's our prescription for health. These are the things that you can do every day that we just reviewed that can make you feel better. Remember stretching. We did a lot of stretching today. That we didn't talk too much about fascia, but the fascia is that white layer that connects over all of our muscles and connects all of our tissues together. So we gotta loosen that fascia and make sure that the lymph, the nerves, the muscles, everything's flowing, the fluids. You can also do intentional breathing. We covered that. Please do that every day. Singing, humming, tapping, laughing, any kind of regular exercise. Our movement, it's movement. It doesn't have to be hardcore exercise, it's just moving your body and finding that flow. Posture is important. And then of course, health and wellness doesn't exist without eating healthy, getting enough sleep, doing some activity every day, and stress management and mindfulness. And that last piece is making sure that you do practice some sort of meditation or mindfulness, prayer, or connecting with your higher power on a daily basis. All right, I think that's it for the slides. All right, we are all done with our first session of Health and Wellness with Dr. C. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you gained some valuable information and are looking forward to stretching. Thank you and have a great day.